And to think, I could barely walk on pavement barefoot. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2022 Toronto International Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2022 epic war drama, The Woman King. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All of my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Woman King stars Viola Davis, Thuso Mbedu, and Lashana Lynch, and was directed by Gina Prince-Bythewood. Set in 1823, it tells the story of General Nanisca, played by Viola Davis, as she leads the Agoji warriors of the Dahomey Kingdom. Although war movies are fairly common, war epics, with their large-scale battles, historical inspiration, and grand approach, are a little rarer these days. Now, I'll admit, war epics aren't usually my thing. I tend to think they're okay, but they don't usually capture me in the grand, all-encompassing way that they do others. So I wasn't initially all that interested in seeing The Woman King. The premise of the all-female Agoji warriors was intriguing, and the cast was certainly impressive, so I decided to take a chance on this one at the press screening at TIFF, and I'm glad that I did. The Woman King is based on the real-life Agoji, the all-woman warrior regiment of the Dahomey Kingdom in West Africa. It's based on reality, but only loosely, and is certainly no documentary on the subject. In fact, only the Dahomey King, played by Boyega, was a real person. All of the other characters are fictional creations. As a result, most of the story details are fictional as well. So if you're looking for an accurate historical account of the economic practices and geopolitics of West African kingdoms in the 1820s, you may want to look elsewhere. But if you're interested in a historically inspired, action-packed war epic, then this might be the movie for you. This film has a lot of noteworthy aspects to discuss, but one of the most readily apparent is its superb action. Right from the start, this film throws you into the fray with a brutal and bloody fight scene. The movie isn't non-stop action, but there are a number of big fight sequences sprinkled throughout that keep things exciting and engaging. The individual fight choreography is mesmerizing to watch, but this isn't all just one-on-one action. It is a war epic after all, so there are a few massive battle sequences that are impressive to watch as the Agoji fight as a cohesive unit using a number of creative tactics. The Woman King is certainly an action-packed film, but it's also an engaging and emotional drama as well. We get a glimpse into the Agoji and the inner workings of their training tactics and relationships. There's some of the war strategizing and inner conflict you'd expect from a war epic, and the story does briefly touch on the Dahomey's real-life involvement in the slave trade, but the majority of the focus is on the fictional individuals of the real Agoji. There's some very personal drama and trauma for the characters, which adds an emotional edge that helps to counterbalance the trained, tactical nature on display during the fight sequences. There are a few subplots that felt a bit convoluted, and a few others that seemed unnecessary, causing the story to lightly drag a bit at times, but the film also does extend past what feels like its natural ending. Even so, it remains a very engaging story. An interesting and engaging story is important, but it's nothing without the performances depicting it. Thankfully, the performances here are very good across the board, but there are really three big standouts. It likely comes as no surprise, but Viola Davis is phenomenal as General Nanisca, the leader of the Agoji. She's stern and fierce when she needs to be, but also fair and kind. She's brutally effective on the battlefield, but has enough heart and even vulnerability at times that makes the emotional moments hit especially hard. Thuso Mbedu is exceptionally strong in her film debut as Nawi, a fiery new recruit to the Agoji. She plays the action scenes well, but also excels in her dramatic scenes, holding her own against the acting powerhouse that is Viola Davis. Mbedu and Davis will likely get much of the performance praise in this film, but I also want to mention Lashana Lynch as Azogi. She plays a mentor/trainer role, which allows for a bit of humor on her part, but she's also extremely good in her more dramatic moments too. The Woman King is an immersive film, partly due to the strong performances, but also partly due to the technical elements. There's some CG in the most expansive scenes, but this is a visually impressive film, with some dynamically shot action sequences and well-shot dramatic scenes that pull you right into the story. Add to that a complimentary score by Terence Blanchard and Lebo M, stellar production and costume design, and an impressive hair and makeup, and you've got one enveloping epic. I can definitely see this one being up for quite a few Oscars come award season. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has gotta be the action. The fight choreography is phenomenal. It's brutal and extremely exciting to watch, but still feels realistic. For highly trained warriors, at least. It never gets fantastical or over the top, helping to bolster the believability of the story. There are a number of action sequences throughout this film, but the diversity of Agoji fight tactics, as well as the varying sizes of the fights, ranging from one-on-one to epic battles featuring hundreds of extras, keeps things exciting. The second pro is definitely the performances. There are a lot of characters in this film, and while many have relatively small roles, the performances are all quite good. But the main focus of the film, and the three best performances, are from Viola Davis, Thuso Mbedu, and Lashana Lynch. Davis is a powerhouse here, delivering both the stern, tactical leadership of a warrior general, as well as the raw emotion of a character with a traumatic past. Although Davis has the major role of the film, Mbedu's Nawi is arguably the main character, since it's through her eyes that we're introduced to and experience the Agoji. It's a big role, and Mbedu handles it remarkably well. You'd never be able to guess that this was her first film role. And even though the role of Izogi isn't quite as central to the story as the other two, Lynch is more than deserving of praise for her strong and occasionally humorous performance. Pro number three has gotta be the technical elements. Even though this is a war epic, I gotta say, I was surprised by how grand and immersive this film was. We could talk about things like the excellent cinematography and lighting here, but I also want to highlight the other things that went into the production, like the score, production design, costume design, and hair and makeup. I suspect that we'll see this film yield a few acting nominations at next year's Oscars, but I think we're also going to see The Woman King pop up in quite a few of the technical categories as well. On the con side, the biggest issue was some of the subplots. The main conflict in the story is engaging enough, but as the film progresses, additional subplots are introduced. Some are a little convoluted and out of the blue, while others, like a romance, just seem unnecessary. None of the subplots are bad, and I could understand including them if they were based on real events, but considering they're aspects of fictional characters' lives, the inclusion of many of these subplots feels like an odd decision. Con number two is a fairly minimal issue, but is the excessive number of endings this film has. Now, obviously, the end of the movie is the end of the movie, but what I mean by this con is that the movie has a point that very much feels like the natural ending to the story. So much so that quite a few people got up and left the P&I screening at TIFF thinking it was the end, but then it just keeps going. And not just for a minute or two. It kind of gets to the point where you're just waiting for it to end in those final minutes, and when it does finally end, it seems less impactful than if it had just wrapped up at the natural ending 10 or 15 minutes before. Before I give you my rating recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Woman King or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Woman King 4 out of 5 paws. This is an engaging and compelling film with some exciting and brutal action sequences and a trio of excellent performances by Viola Davis, Thuso Mbedu, and Lashana Lynch. I would recommend The Woman King to fans of war epics. If you're looking for a film with grand epic battles, war strategizing, and dramatic moments with those engaged in the war, then this will be right up your alley. Especially if you'd like to see a non-European or American war at the center of this kind of story. Fans of the genre will get a bit more out of this movie, but even if you're not big on epics, the premise behind the Agoji, and especially the performances, are gripping for any movie fan. If you liked The Woman King, I would recommend Braveheart. It's certainly a more traditional epic historical war drama, and not a particularly historically accurate one, but it offers some immense battles and plenty of war drama. If you liked the Agoji, you might want to watch Black Panther. It's a superhero film with very little in common story-wise, but the real-life Agoji served as a major inspiration to the Dora Milaje, the all-woman Wakandan military regiment. And if you're interested in another film about an elite team by Gina Prince-Bythewood, you should check out The Old Guard. As a sci-fi action movie, it might sound like the exact opposite of a historical war epic from a story perspective, but it's another film with exciting action and a strong lead performance. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Woman King? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite war epic? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies. The way life should be.